Yeah, that won't do. How about this one? No. I'll tell you what, I'll just start the podcast. Hello. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, we're not?
I was introducing it. I'm going to leave that in, though, because I thought it was quite sweet. Right, welcome back to my podcast. I am Andrew Culture, and this is my podcast, so I called it Andrew Culture's Podcast. Can you see where I was going with that?
Are you talking to me now?
No, I wasn't talking to you.
Oh.
I was just looking at you to see if you'd answer. There's too much silence now. Right, let's crack on with this. This is already getting kind of interesting. Right, I am here today with my brother-in-law. His name is...
Mark Curtis.
Yep, that was correct. You were supposed to speak then.
Good.
Interestingly, we're going to talk, and Mark is sitting here with a pen. I'm not sure what he thinks a pen will do to help the listener.
It's a comfort thing.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Defensive weapon if the interview goes really badly.
I'm not a violent person, so no, it's just more, I don't know, just something in the hand.
Well, the pen is mightier than the sword, but I don't think anyone ever attacked Dogtanian with...
I can't imagine it.
It wasn't Dogtanian, was it?
No, that was a very good cartoon, though. One for Orlando, for one.
Right.
Musca hounds are always.
It might not surprise you, our wonderful listener, to know that we are not here to talk about 80s Spanish cartoons.
No.
We're having a chat today because Mark does some things in his life that many people probably think are quite inadvisable. Now, I'm going to try and set the scene here and let Mark tell some of his own story. So I'm not going to tell you what Mark does for a living. I'm not really going to tell you much about what Mark does at all. We're going to see if we can let the story unfold like a badly rolled burrito. I don't know why I used that as an example, but I quite like it. Right, so I'm going to set the scene. Mark is early 20s, mid-20s, late 20s. No, that's not how old he is now. That's how old he was at the beginning of the scene. Let's not worry too much about how old he is. Was. Right, here's the situation. Mark has a friend whose child's very poorly. And this isn't the lead up to a joke. I just realised how jolly it was to start. Anyway, quite a serious condition, and Mark's friend's son received some really excellent care. It was particularly good, and a part of the support for that care was from a charitable foundation who put families up in hospitals or in nice places near hospitals while their children are getting treatment. Now, as a part of this happening, God, as a story arc, that's a massive kind of steep climb, isn't it? Anyway, as a part of this happening, Mark's friend, he was a college friend, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Mark's friend said, look, Mark's friend was given the opportunity to enter the London Marathon. And Mark's friend, along with some of Mark's other friends, or you might what's coming next, you might wonder if they were friends. As I understand it, they thought to themselves, who's the person we know least likely to be able to run a marathon? Who was that person, Mark?
That'd be me.
Okay. Now, why do you think they thought you might be the person least likely to run in a marathon?
Because I was standing outside the front of the hospital at the time, smoking a roll-up, I think with a can of cider.
You're outside the hospital with a can of cider?
I was indeed. So we're in Liverpool, the Alder Hay Children's Hospital, and my good best friend from university, Alistair Barley, his son was born with what's called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, where the left-hand side of the heart doesn't grow properly or proportionately to pump blood around the body. And little Max, we knew from the start, was going to have several incredibly difficult heart operations at a very young age. Just to think about that for a moment, we're talking about operations on something that is, the size of a mini egg.
Wow, really? A mini egg?
Well, if the heart, thinking a heart in a baby, the size of it, and the fact that his heart didn't grow properly, it was tiny. So to get the thing working, was going to be an incredibly dangerous, several dangerous operations, and I didn't ask too many questions about it. It was bad enough sort of having that information. So, the prognosis was always hanging in the balance. Alistair was never quite sure how it was going to go. Myself and Alistair, kindred spirits at university. We used to go and have, as many people do at uni, lots of entertaining evenings. Entertaining evenings in the pub. Pub life was grand. We tended to thrash all our troubles away with pints of Stella and giggling and joking in the corner type stuff. When I arrived at Liverpool that time, I was in a place in my life where I just knew I couldn't do that anymore. It really, when faced with really sad things, I'd got to a place where I recognised the pub was not the answer for me anymore. And we went over to the Children's Hospital, saw what was going to happen, and then we went back over to the residency, which is a place called Mac House, Ronald McDonald House, which is the residency that puts families up when their children are going through these really traumatic experiences and having these operations. Families sometimes have to stay away from home for months on end, so having a place that they can stay that's free of charge, a place completely ran on donations, was vitally important in terms of Al and Felicity being able to survive in the end. We went back over to Mac House, and I said to Al, look, we've got to do something positive, as I took a drag on my cigarette. And
I just want to, before we go on, I just want to kind of set the scene with Al, because I know this man, and I'd say this with all love, but he is a joker.
Al is the funniest man I've ever met.
Yeah.
He is, his spirit is very unique. It comes from an array of incredible experience in many, many different things. He's a real liver of life. He's lived many lives. He's got more lives than a cat. He's an astonishing human being. His heart is bigger than a house. I mean, but that also means that he really feels things. So this was always, just from getting there and getting off the train, I could see how much and how in pain he was, I guess, already. And Max had only just been born. So, sometimes you got to go to places with people. So me and Al, our usual way of dealing with it would be, I get off the train, we go to the hospital, we are sad. We go to the pub, we drink a bit, we giggle, we laugh, we tell each other jokes, we giggle, we laugh a bit more. Then we push the boundaries and see how far we can get into the night before it all goes drastically wrong. This one time, I just remember kind of looking at Alan, and we have this sort of way of behaving, and I just looked at him and said, not this time, man. I just can't do it. I can't. It's too sad a thing. I can't go and laugh about this. We need to find something positive to do. Just dragging my cigarette and I'll have a can. Yeah, we'll have a can, but then that's it. We're not going to the pub. Anyway, Alistair disappeared into Ronald McDonald House, and I was outside and I was just thinking about life, as I do. And then Alistair came out, and he had this big grin on his face, and in his broad Brummy accent, Curto, listen, mate, I've smashed it. What have you smashed, Al? I'm going to do a buskathon.
Oh, what?
A buskathon.
I thought you meant Bosk, like the Star Wars character.
Buskathon. I was like, yeah, what do you mean, mate? Well, I'm going to play the guitar for hours on end and raise money for charity, the charity.
Just decided this, just popping into the unit.
Well, he spoke to the lady in charge about doing something positive. And
he's a man of action, isn't he?
He certainly is, yeah. And Al loves his guitar. He's always loved his guitar. He's always dabbled on the guitar. And I kind of was like, wow, brilliant, nice one, mate. That's great. And he went, brilliant. I thought you'd like it. I've put your name down for the marathon. What? The London Marathon? You're going to run the London Marathon?
I like the fact he had to tell you which marathon. Like that was the important thing.
The important
I think
thing.
Out of those two words, the word marathon is the salient one, isn't it?
Yeah, the salient one. I mean, I think the London bit gave it... He was hoping it would give it enough kudos that I might just jump at the opportunity. But I suppose in the moment, I kind of just went, Yeah. All right, Al. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's just. Yeah. Well, let's see how far this one goes before. Should we go to the pub?
It sounds like the setup for a sitcom kind of.
It looking back at it still feels like it was in a way. Fast forward a few months. So the London Marathon, the first London Marathon. Sorry, yeah, the London Marathon I was down to run was in 2010, and in December 2009. Fast forward, I was sat in a restaurant in Peterborough with another really good friend of mine, Jason. And Jason's ran a few marathons. And he'd found out that obviously I was running this marathon and my name was down. I had to raise money for charity, which was not an issue at all. That was all fairly straightforward. But Jason, we're sat at this restaurant having a meal for a friend's birthday, and Jason turned around to me. I think it was a Christmas meal, actually. Jason turned around to me and he said, "So, what's your mileage, mate? How far are you up to?"
Let's put this in context of a countdown. At that point, how long till you had to run
26.2 miles. So December is still 5 months out.
Okay, so 5 times 4, 20 months. That sounds further enough away for it to feel like it's another planet.
Yeah, for exactly that. And I sort of turned around to Jay. I haven't really started anything yet.
We hadn't started at all.
No. I mean, I was always sporty, so I've always ran.
Yeah.
And in between bouts of sort of boozing and fags and all that kind of stuff, I still liked to keep fit. I think when I was younger, I always wanted to be a sports person. In my dream was to be a rugby player, but I just wasn't tall enough.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know Mark, you as much as I love you and you have many positive things about you, you are not a large fellow.
I'm not a large fellow.
I think you see Mark and I walking from the back. If you saw us walking together from the back, if it wasn't for the fact you've got a bald head, you might look like you're my child.
Probably, yeah. I'm quite large. I am wee. I am.
No, I'm making you sound like you're my.
No. But I am.
To me, I'm like a walking door.
I'm 5'5", I believe, on a good day if I've had a really good sleep. But yeah, Jason said, you need to get going on it, mate. I was like, yeah, okay, brilliant. Okay, good advice. I'll get going on it. So I started running over the Christmas period anyway. Fast forward again a bit further, and we hit my friend Paul's birthday. And again, we're out for another meal. Jason hits me with the same question. What's your mileage, mate? And I said something like, I've done a 10K, man. I'm rocking it. I've done some 10Ks. Jason just looked. I'd never forget the look on his face. He just looked scared.
He looked scared.
He looked scared. Yeah, it's like because Paul's birthday's in March. The London Marathon's always in April, except this year.
Right.
COVID has obviously knocked that on the head this year, but the London Marathon's always been in April. So we're a month out, and I've run a 10K. Jason looks at me. I would have at least done 18 milers by now. Quite regular 18 milers, or a couple of 18 miles. You've got another couple of weeks. You probably wanted to get up to 2022, maybe. That's what all the advice seems to say in these magazines. And you've run a 10K. I would really consider not doing it. I've raised all this money for charity.
You can't back out.
I can't back out.
You did raise. You remember you raised a lot. I think.
Over 3,500 quid or something. Yeah.
Just to kind of give you the listener kind of the idea of the pressure that was on then. You were working at Key Theatre in Peterborough, weren't you?
I was doing theatre in Peterborough. And getting around a bit. I was doing some touring as well at the time.
But what was happening when I came to see you in something at the Key Theatre in Peterborough is they were having a whip round after the show. So it's not just a few people.
Absolutely.
It's a whole audience of people.
It became a thing in the panto. In the pantomime, there's a famous bit at the end of most pantos where the actors sort of say at the end, we're raising money for this, that and the other. If you any donations, fold it up and put it in the bin.
Put it in the bin?
Yeah, put it in the bin that's provided, that kind of thing. Sorry. And of course, so there all these donations had come in, and lots of people coming up to me going, good on you, especially you, because we never thought you'd do this.
So you must be thinking, shit.
Yeah, I was in a bit of trouble there. And the problem was, I'll tell you exactly what I was doing. I was rehearsing a play at the time, which opened and was on in the build-up to the marathon. And the play was at the Old Red Lion Theatre in London. And it was a play called Tape. Was it Tape? Was we doing Tape? It was. I'm sure it was Tape. And it was a play that me and a friend were in, and we were doing this. So basically what that means is it's very time consuming. You're rehearsing long days and so to get out, the very thought of getting out and doing an 18-mile run, which is more than double a 10k, it's nearly 3 times a 10k.
At that point, how were you finding the 10ks? Were you just laughing them off? Were you just getting out, rattling them off?
I was kind of rattling them off. I mean, they weren't stressing me. What was stressing me more was the thought of going out and doing it. I think I seem to remember kind of going, trying to fit it in, or go, I should really go run. I remember that being really stressful. But knowing that you've got to do it. But when Jason hit me with that news, a blind panic sort of set in. I think I went out for I think the following Sunday I went out for a.
You still left it like a week.
Run. Yeah, because it wasn't part of my thinking to go, right, stop eating, I better go now.
Or just
I just kind of went, right, well, I've still got all of this to do. My brain was very much wired in the direction of theatre maker, desperately trying to seek work after, and a sort of a performer's life, often 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. So I was thinking of summer things. The marathon was just something that was happening somewhere in the middle of it all. So went out that Sunday and went out and did the 10k route that I'd done, and I went out and did it like three and a bit times.
Wow.
But my leg was like, I remember just having this really sore leg, and just like that for the next sort of, I think then, 3 weeks out then, which I then read a bit more about it. You're supposed to do this thing called the taper, which is where you then reduce your mileage to run into the start line. You do a lot of marathon runners do a thing where they carb load. So you reduce your mileage, you eat the same amount of carbohydrate, and your body stores it as glycogen, and then it burns it. You arrive at the start line feeling nice and peppy, a bit sluggish because you haven't ran that much. You come out the blocks, you settle into your pace, and then off you go, and slowly but surely your body remembers what it's doing.
Easy peasy.
Well, the day arrived, and I ran it, and right from the go, I loved it. I loved the experience.
So we're going to race forward a bit there, but I mean, you turned up, and obviously there's a lot of people at the London Marathon. It's I mean, what are the mechanics of that? Do you just fight your way to the tape at the front and the gun goes off and everyone legs it?
It's very carefully done. So everyone's in sort of bang. When you actually get your application, or when you write your application. So my application obviously went through the charitable route. So it went through Ronald McDonald House. So lots of charities are given places, and then they give the places out to people who are happy to, or say that they can raise the money.
You were about to say happy. I thought you were going to say they'll give them to people who are happy to run a marathon. I'm not sure happy to run is something that really has come into it so far.
She didn't. The lady who gave me the place had no idea that I wasn't up for it. I had no idea. So I didn't.
That's just even more pressure, though.
I didn't meet her until quite late on, by which point we'd already raised quite a bit of cash. So it was a sort of a done deal before we even, But the London Marathon, you turn up. When you apply, you tentatively put down a time that you think you might be able to complete it in.
That must have been a total shot in the dark for you.
I kind of went. There's.
I'd say like a week, maybe.
I asked Jason. Jason filled it in for me in the end, but he said I did it absolutely right. The cut-off point I think was 6.5 hours, and I kind of figured around a 5-hour mark would be good. A 5-hour mark would be good. And Jason said that was probably the sensible thing to do. And then you rock up and you go and you've got your bag and it's got a number on it, and you get dressed, changed, and you put your bag on one of the trucks, and then you go off to find your starting pen, and then everybody you
Bag
know,
on one of the trucks. What's that?
So obviously you turn up in your running kit, but you don't want to just be turning up in your running kit and getting freezing cold at the start, because
You don't have a chair to put your coat under
no,
like at school,
and you could be kicking. If it was a horrible day, it wasn't. It was a beautiful day actually, but you could be kicking around for a while. So you stand around in your running gear. I stood there in my jeans. Everybody else was in their active wear, lycra, and looking very sleek and sporty, and I was there trying to hide my fags.
Trying to pack a B&H.
And
what was going through your mind when you were looking around at everyone, all these kind of lithe people wearing the right gear? And
I was inspired. You can't, I was inspired. I think there's a bit of vanity in me that the body image thing is massive, isn't it? And I like the idea of looking good. And I think when I was younger, I used to work out because I wanted the six pack and to look good and all that kind of stuff. And I think that can be quite healthy. It's not healthy if you obsess and it goes too far, but wanting to look good is a nice thing. And I think when arriving at the London Marathon, knowing how many people were there for charity and doing things like I was, which was about to send yourself into the abyss, because I hadn't ran 26.2 miles up to this point.
I assumed you'd actually done that.
No, you never know. No, you don't know. You're fixating on this thing. Can I even do this?
Yeah.
And knowing that everybody was there, that 35,000 people, all about to do the same, apart from a group at the front who are obviously club runners and elites and professional sports people. It's inspiring. It's really inspiring stuff. So that lifts you.
Yeah, you're sort of buoyed along by it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And the weather was good. I was blessed with the weather. I'd spoken to Alistair and Deke on the phone, and Alistair's dad had phoned me as well, Richard. And everyone was just this wealth of well-being surrounding it. Everybody was like, wow, you're really going to do this. And I think at that point, a lot of my friends kind of know me as being quite stubborn. So there was a feeling that I wouldn't fail. And also I think at this stage, even if I'd stopped halfway, failure wasn't really part of our conversation anymore. It was, I'd already done an amazing thing in it, taking it that far. Yeah, in many minds.
I remember it, and I always had great faith in you. But I can remember getting to the start line was winning. I think, in my opinion, the fact you were there, it was not an insignificant thing to do, to turn up on the day. I knew you would, but that was winning. Not
enough focus is given to that little part of the journey. The getting to the start line is incredible, because the amount of preparation that goes in, or lack of preparation that goes into it. But even with a lack of preparation, there's a hell of a lot of procrastination that goes on mentally. Can I? Can't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? Oh no, I'm under pressure. These people want me to do it. Do I want to do it? I've raised money now. Now I have to do it. Oh God, all of this sort of whirlwind of thought. There were so many opportunities just to go, oh, you know what? And I think in my heart of hearts, I think people would have just gone, yeah, of course. Yeah, don't worry about it, Mark. It's fine.
We sort of hammed it up a bit at the beginning of kind of, I mean, I'm being glib by saying you were entered into it as a joke. I mean, there were, as we said at the top of the show, there was serious reasons behind it. But no, I think at that point, if you had have said, look, I'm actually going to hurt myself by doing this, I don't think anyone would have minded. Not even people who donated towards it. You don't donate, you don't sponsor people to do things and then want your money back if something happens. That's not the reason you do it.
It's the most special thing, because that charitable donation means that other people were inspired, I guess, to actually, to put your hand in your pocket. There's so many different causes out there now. And the fact that I was doing something, or thinking about doing something, trying to do something, it meant a lot to a lot of people in the end. I think the heart of it all as well is something else that probably I should just add in, is that we, in our family, as I'm sure you will remember, Andrew, me and Emma, our cousin Paul, he lost a child very young. And that has always stuck with me. And so there's a deep sort of root in there somewhere about the sadness of that I found kind of propelled me forward, and just the thought of Alistair and Deke, Felicity, being in that darkness. If I could offer any light, it was worth a little bit of pain, even if I had to walk. I think by that point I also knew that I could get to 18 miles with a sore leg even, and then walk it in.
It's downhill bits, you just roll down.
Walk it in, which I now know is not actually the case. Walking in from 18 miles, if you've hit the wall, is an incredibly long way. You're still 8 miles out, and it's...
when they're packing up all the barriers,
when
and
the car comes behind you and beeps the horn, you're out of luck. But
do you get like a lantern rouge in cycling? If you're at the back, there's like what we call the broom wagon.
They come and sweep you up.
They come and sweep you up.
Yeah, sorry mate, you're done. You need to just jump in here, and that's the end of it. But we set off, and we did it, and one of the stories I don't think a lot of people will know about my London Marathon experience was that I didn't have hordes of family waiting for me at the end or anything like that. I had a very good mate of mine, which is significant now because of where we are with it all. But I had a very good friend called Tim Britton who met me at the end.
Tim, was it?
He met me at the end with a bottle of warm champagne.
Lovely.
And a Marlboro Lights 20 deck. And we cracked open the Marlboro Lights, cracked open this bottle of champagne as I was hobbling around. We sat on the floor in Horse Guards Parade, and we were swigging from this bottle whilst I was smoking a Marlboro Light. And this guy came, he was held up by his spouse, wife or girlfriend, or anyway, came hobbling towards us. And I'll never forget it, because he just looked in so much pain. He looked broken, absolutely broken, white, crusty, spittle all over his face. Just white crust all over his t-shirt, the salt sweats and all that. And he came walking towards us, and he looked, and he sort of started to cry. And he went, "Look at you, well, congratulations, mate. You did it, well done. Yeah, look, you got your mate there with a bottle of champagne and what's that, a Marlboro Light, yeah? What did I get? I got her."
Oh, no, that's awful.
And we were kind of like, we didn't know how to react.
No, what'd you do with that?
So there was another overrun. It was sort of from there. I remember we sort of hobbled off to get the train home, and I was living in Blackheath at the time, rented accommodation in Blackheath, and easiest way to get home was from Charing Cross. We got the train home, and as I sat on the train, I remember just going, "That was amazing. Why, oh why did you smoke a cigarette at the end of it?"
Oh, really? That was like a clear thing in your mind?
Yeah, lots of people doing these things for charity, and as we know, the world has changed, hasn't it? And cigarettes now, we know, well, we've always known they're bad for you.
I don't think it was a shock then.
No.
We had an inkling.
I think being surrounded by all that well-being, it just felt like, there must have been people just walking past going, "What the bloody hell is he doing?" It still took me a while to quit, but it was the beginning of that. That was the beginning of like a real well-being, healthy journey for me. A massive shift in my mental capacity, because now I knew I could run 26.2 miles. A shift in what I understood about inspiration and support and love. And I fell in love with sport again. And okay, I wasn't going to be a rugby player, but I could run. And running was just something I went, it's easy to do. It's not going to cost me very much.
How long was it? Not going to cost you very much. So I'm just thinking kind of, it's like I'm cyclist, and you first start getting to cycling and go,
just a bike, innit?
I'm going to get rid of my car and I'm going to have a bicycle to save money. And I was only laughing because, it doesn't you always end up buying stuff. So after that first marathon, how long was it until you started sort of looking around the internet for information, thinking about doing it again?
Well, I finished that first marathon in 4 hours 40 minutes.
4 hours 40.
And a mate of mine said, "For a first marathon, mate, that's just wonderful. Well done."
Wow.
There are faster ones, And I kind of went, And it was the first. A lot of marathon runners, a lot of runners obsess about times, which is this whole other podcast, I would imagine, for us, Andrew, just because there's a whole kind of, running to enjoy, running to get a PB, or running to do this, or running to personal best. Or I prefer to call it a best yet.
It's a question that I've got just on that quickly, because cycling is, for me and for a lot of cyclists, it's a personal thing. I mean, for some people it is a team thing. But for me, one of the things that I really got into when it first came out was Strava. Because Strava, you could pitch yourself against other cyclists. You could see how fast you were over set periods of space. We call them KOMs, King of the Mountains. You could see how fast you were.
Yeah.
And I was really proud of myself that I had 36 KOMs, which is a significant amount. Until the Tour of Britain came through Suffolk, where we live, in which case I went from ranked number 1 to 230th.
Drop down the order.
But then I thought, screw this. This isn't why I'm doing it. This is, I was into my 40s, or nearing my 40s then. I just thought, if I'm going to carry on doing this, this isn't going to be the reason. This isn't going to be why. And I can see I know Strava is available for runners.
Yeah, Strava. I look at Strava now, every now and again. But back then, I had no idea what Strava was, or Garmin, or any of those things. I barely knew what running trainers to wear, to be honest. What happened next was Jason, actually, my colleague Jason, said he was going to do another marathon. I said I'd like to do another one, and so we ended up doing Brighton. Now, the interesting thing, there's several interesting things about doing a second marathon. One is everybody now knows that you can run one. So when you turn around and go, I'm running for a good cause, everyone kind of goes,
oh great, again,
right? But you've already done that. Go climb a mountain, or
guess what I'm going to do?
Swim the channel, you arse.
Get their wallet out. What are you doing now?
Yeah, do something that is going to kill you. That's what we want.
We're paying you money. We're paying for blood.
And of course, Brighton Marathon is known. I think it's known as being a bit of a faster course than London.
Everything in Brighton is either up a hill or down a hill.
Yes.
There's no, unless you just go along the seafront, everything's up a hill or down a hill.
It's interesting. I'd argue that London's probably quicker. Anyway, I went to run this marathon with Jason, and we, again, became aware of time, but didn't fixate on it, and was really surprised when I did what a lot of runners really strive to do, which is dip under 4 hours. So in my second marathon, I ran something like 3:58.
So what time? How much time was there between the first London Marathon and then the Brighton Marathon?
So a year.
Oh, a year. Okay,
yeah,
so
year.
It wasn't putting down your fag packet and going, what am I doing next Thursday?
I trained a little bit better because Jason was doing the marathon as well, the Brighton Marathon as well. We trained a bit harder, and Jason obviously gave me some more insight, so I trained a bit better for it. But in your head, because you're not into it in that way, and I wasn't buying magazines, and I wasn't researching, and I wasn't looking at times, and I wasn't running for a club or talking to other runners, it was still a very personal journey. I hadn't ever timed any of my runs, so in my head on the start line at Brighton, 4 hours 40, maybe 4 hours 30. So to cross the line in under 4 hours was a big surprise. Massive surprise.
I know roughly, just obviously because you're my brother-in-law, I do get the times, but I think anyone can see that that's a significant improvement in just a year.
Just a year, yeah. Belief, I think that is I think it's incredible once you know you can do something. So once you know you can run 26.2 miles, I would imagine there's a large chunk of time taken off your overall time just in that belief alone, because there's sort of a lot of stress taken away with the knowledge that you have completed the distance.
I think it can go several ways. I mean, I can only relate to it from a cycling term. The first time I did an Imperial Century, so 100 miles, I was just amazed I finished it.
Yeah.
And then I did a few more, and then with a friend of mine, Matt, I did 100 miles with an average of 19.4 miles an hour, which is not insignificant. Nearly killed me, but from that point on, I carried on doing hundreds, and I've done 155 is the most I've done. But from that point on, it was like, well, I can do it, so I just hop on the bike. You still have to prepare.
Yeah.
But I lost the urge to do it fast. I literally thought, I've done it 19.4. I'm happy with that. I'm just going to do it for pleasure now. But you kind of went the other way.
I started to enjoy the sensation of running fast. I think what happened to me was
I love that. Just the wind rushing
the
past
sensation of it.
Say past your hair, but
there's a lot of kind of research that's gone into something known as the flow state, which is like the sort of the lovely state of mind that you get into when everything is just working seamlessly, and the subconscious mind takes over, and it's like freedom, I guess. And running, I found a freedom within it that freed me from the sadness that I had felt as a younger man. It freed me from anxieties that I felt on a daily basis, anxieties that we all have. It freed me from anxieties that I held personally. And it just created space for me. And running fast and pushing myself was something I really enjoyed doing. And then I think I noticed how training was really helping work, because it forced me to relook at self-discipline. So I started to, train better, and became a little bit more interested in training as a concept and an idea, and different ways of training. And then I went and did my third marathon, which was fairly soon after Brighton. It was that summer, which was the Rutland Water Marathon. Now, Rutland Water is quite an undulating course. And I remember doing that, and I came in 3 hours 37.
Wow, that's another massive leap forward.
Which was, again, I began to, in that way, just start to go, right, I'm really chipping away at this here. And I was hooked, and the marathon distance had really gripped me. The next one I ran was, I think I did London again, and I ran that in 3:07.
Right.
Then I ran a 3:03, and I think that was the 3:03 was a second Brighton. Then I was back. Then I went over to Paris, where I was training with Philippe Gollier, in my profession, in my job, theatre maker. So I was in Paris, and I signed up for the Paris Marathon, and I dropped to 2:58. So broke 3 hours, dropped to a 2 hour 58. Then I came back to London and did 2 hours 50. And then
it's amazing you remember all these
just
times.
Kept going, yeah.
250 burned in.
Yeah, 250s happened many times. Did Chester in 250, Manchester in 250. Had some disasters as well. Funniest marathon ever for the final 10k. As any marathon runner will tell you, the final 10k is where it all happens. That's where it's like, come on, grit, push, here we go, discomfort, here we come. And in Nottingham, again, quite an undulating course. Had been under 3 hours at this point, so was expecting to do the same. Never just expect things to happen. And I hit the last bit of Nottingham. It was a really hot day, and it had been a disaster. Blame everything, blame the wind, blame the hills, blame everything. But I'd already knew I wasn't going to go under 3 hours. So I was thoroughly annoyed, running just in agony, in pain, and running along. And my hip flexor went. So when you run, you tend to run up and down using your glutes. When your hip flexor goes and gets really tight, right? Yeah, what you end up doing is kind of finding a way to alter your stride. So what I ended up doing was like swinging my leg around the outside,
right,
to avoid the pain that my hip flexor was feeling on the straight up and down. You think about just lifting your knees up and down. That's the usual way that you would run. My hip flexor was hurting when I was doing that. So what I would do is throw my leg around, throw my right leg around. So I was sort of running like this.
Like a little dance.
A weird little dance with agony on my face. And then I remember that at Nottingham they had these like little showers where you could run through these like water showers. And I sort of like, no, I'd at least cool myself down. That'll make me feel better. And I ran through this shower. And the trickles of water first sort of went down my back and everything else. But because I was swinging my leg, the water sort of came down my back in a funny way. It felt like I might have pooed myself.
All right.
So now I'm clenching my buttocks. I'm running, clenching my buttocks, swinging my leg around because my hip flexor hurts, followed by the water runs on the top of my head and salt washes down my face.
Ooh, into your eyes.
Into my eyes.
Yeah.
So now I can't see.
So you're
I'm
a pooping,
running,
limping, blind kind of runner.
and I remember running past a group of spectators and I heard a guy go, "Oh my God, look at him." And I just thought, this is a disaster. I finished that marathon in 3 hours 6 minutes.
Oh God, it's still not a massive difference.
No, it isn't, but it's just, again, I think you've always got to respect things, haven't you? And I think I learned a valuable lesson that day, that just turning up on the start line and thinking that you're going to do something is, life has this beautiful way of kind of going, no, you're not.
No, I've got to say, when I haven't prepared for really long rides, that's when it kind of bites me in the ass.
Absolutely,
definitely.
yeah, knocks you off your thing. I guess, by the time I decided to move to ultra running.
Oh, hang on.
We're not going there, no.
Let's do a story arc here.
Okay, sorry.
Right, so clearly you'd run a bunch of marathons. You got to the stage where you were giving the medals, or I don't know if you gave them or lent them. You were giving them to my daughter Izzy, when she was tiny. You were doing marathons. We weren't even, you'd just turn up at our house and hand Izzy, my daughter, a medal.
Yeah.
And we're like, "What's that?" And she said, "Oh, I ran the whole marathon." Like, "Did you?" It got to the stage you were running so many marathons, we didn't even know when you were going to do them. So kind of from the first one, obviously the build-up was massive for the first London Marathon, but I don't think we certainly weren't ignoring you. I don't think you were telling us that you were doing them. They became almost just you. It was like you were running marathons like people would play Sunday league football.
Yeah.
Where's Mark say? "Oh, it's the weekend, he must be doing a marathon."
Yeah.
So you'd done a bunch, and then you discovered this thing called the ultra marathon in a country that is not that close to us. So do you want to let's leap forward? First of all, tell us how many marathons you'd done, if you can remember, when you decided that you needed a bigger challenge.
26.
26 marathons over what period?
6 years.
You're that's insane. I still think that's absolutely mad. So, how did you discover what your next challenge would be? How did you pick it? How did you? So you saw this thing, which we haven't revealed yet, and you went, "That's for me."
I didn't see that thing. I saw a different version of it. Yeah, I think by this point I'd done someone said to me the other day, "You really think too much," and I guess I do. The change in me was insurmountable. There's several work things that were going on in the background that were also a major contributor to this. I was doing some work with a Holocaust survivor and a lady who came to this country on the kinder transport. And
the kinder transport.
The trains that brought children as young as 4 years old and as old as 16 from Europe in the build-up to and in the early right up to the outbreak of the World War II to get away from Nazi oppression. Mm-hmm. So the children that came over to this country, a lady called Liani Siegel, or Liani Regenbogen as she was known then, and a lady called Rachel Levy. Rachel was in Auschwitz taken there when she was 13 and survived. And I'd been doing a lot of work creating educational workshops based around the subject, so doing a lot of work with these survivors. And when you spend time with survivors, especially these two ladies, what you learn about what the mind can do is just a phenomenal thing. And also I think I try not to complain in my life because I've got nothing to complain about. Rachel Levy's story is even she doesn't complain about her experiences in Auschwitz and then Bergen-Belsen, and on the death march from Auschwitz to Belsen. So my life had changed. I'd met Angela, my best friend, my wife, my lover, my confidant, all those kind of things. We'd decided that we wanted to get married. Had we decided that? No, not yet. We hadn't decided we wanted to get married just yet. So hand in hand, I'd done a lot more reading, a lot more research about running and the things it was giving me, and doing wonderful things for my mind. And yeah, can I go further? Can I go further than 26.2 miles? And if so, how far? And if you're going to do it, you may as well go for it. You know, you don't do like...
You might think that.
Yeah. I was like, I remember just kind of going, well, there's a 50k here or a 50... well, come on. If you want to do something, let's just really go for it. I then became aware of a race known as the MDS, Marathon des Sables, which is a multi-stage event. It's over 7 days. There's one rest day, and you basically run you don't run a marathon every day. It builds up, but you basically run the equivalent of, I think it's 5 or 6 marathons over those 6 days. So 250k over the Moroccan desert, the Sahara Desert. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, that just sounds mental. That sounds incredible. What an amazing thing to do. Let's just have a look. Wow, £5,000. Wow,
is that how much it costs to enter?
I won't be doing that. Yeah, just far too expensive. There's no way I could have afforded it.
How do they justify it?
Well, because medical bill, there's all sorts of goes into it. The MDS is incredibly commercial. Many people want to do it. So I suppose they can charge what they like in a sense.
No, I can see that medical support is...
support.
So it's a well-supported race.
Oh, then. Medical, helicopter, all sorts of stuff. Because if you go missing out there, it's
right. So
death,
Here we are with a story. 26 marathons, looking for more mileage. You've seen a well-supported, helicopter-supported ultra marathon, I guess. Is it an ultra marathon? Ultra marathon, but it's $5,000 to enter.
Yeah.
So you chose something that was more distance, less support, and I guess cheaper.
4 kilometers further, so 254k.
4 kilometers.
So
that doesn't seem to me. That doesn't seem to matter compared to over a week.
It calls itself the sister of the MDS. Many people say it's harder than the MDS because of the humidity. But it's basically the same thing, but across the Kalahari Desert, the Green Kalahari in South Africa, brushing up against the border with Namibia and the Orange River.
So what's that race called? Is it a race or a run?
The Kalahari Orgrabis Extreme Marathon. Orgrabis.
What's that mean?
The Orgrabis is the national park.
Okay.
The national park that it goes through. So same thing, multi-stage event. So day 1... something like a 29-30k run. Day 2, you're up to sort of a marathon distance. Day 3, you're going a little bit past marathon distance. Day 4 is your long stage, and you're doing a 75k, 80k run.
80k.
80k.
What's that in miles?
80 kilometers in miles. 60k is there. 60k. 100k is 60 miles. So it's about 55,
day.
80k, 55, 50, 52, 52 miles, something like that. I think around that mark. I could work it out, but it'd take me too long.
Some.
Yeah.
More than I've run ever. Well, more than most people have run ever.
The hardest day, I think, arguably, is actually the day after that, which is just over a marathon in distance. So you've ran 80k, and the next day you run a marathon.
Okay, so you're running that much. So is there a helicopter support?
In the Kalahari, no.
Is there food stations?
Checkpoints, yeah, absolutely.
Are they foods? Do they feed you?
No.
Do you get put up in a hotel?
No.
Do they give you food each day at all?
No. Self-supported.
So right, self-supported is a phrase that you just casually just fling off like it's nothing. Explain what self-supported means.
You carry everything. So you have a backpack.
From day one, you have
a backpack, and in it you will I packed my bags, and and in it I had in fact, the first year I didn't even do that. I was an idiot.
Oh no, you've given it away. You can't say the first year, right?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. Carry on.
Yeah, you have in it your sleeping bag. You have all your food, whatever food you choose to pack. You have
Monster Munch.
some compulsory gear like scissors, torch, whistle for attracting. Scissors for a blister pack, because blisters are a big thing in that race. My personal favourite item, an anti-venom pump.
I can remember you coming round to our house. I don't know, I can't remember why you were at our house with all your stuff. I might have been in Peterborough with your parents. Yeah. But I can remember looking at all this stuff that you had laid out. It's a lot of stuff. And then looking at this tiny little bag and just saying, mate, it's not going to go in. You're going to need a little trailer with wheels. It's not going to go in.
It's amazing the amount of advice you get from people that's surrounding that bag. You know, I would pack this. The amount of sort of guidance that there are, different ideas there are around nutrition, and different ideas around, which is the best whistle, or
which is the best whistle.
This whistle doubles up as a whistle, but also it acts as a clip. Get this bag because there's a whistle already attached to it, so you'll save yourself a few quid.
Right, so that bag, when you did the London Marathon, you said that you put your kit bag on a truck or something and then you go get it at the finish?
Yeah, the trucks drive through London and meet you at the end.
Same thing in the desert?
No, you carry that bag from day one all the way through. I
don't even like pushing a shopping trolley full of a week's food. You're carrying it on your back.
Carrying it on your back, yeah.
Through a desert.
My bag on the first run. Sorry, done it again there. Just to give the game away.
I think
we've given the game away.
The stable door is open. The horse has legged it.
It was just under 10 kilograms, and that was going some to get it that light.
See, my first reaction to that was, well, that's not too bad, but then that's carrying it for a week. Well, assuming it gets lighter as you've eaten the stuff.
It gets lighter to a point. The big mistake I made on that particular run was I didn't take a bed.
I know these details. It's bonkers kind of talking to you about it. You didn't take a bed.
I didn't take a bed.
I've never been anywhere in the world and thought, arrived in the airport and thought, oh crap, I've forgotten my bed.
I didn't take a bed. There's many different ways to do it, like a roll mat or a blow-up type thing. The top of the line stuff's really expensive, but people buy them because they're super light. I didn't take anything.
Okay, now I've just realised how long we've been talking, so I think there's more to talk about here, but as a conclusion to this, did you finish that first race?
I did indeed finish that first race.
And did you think that's that done now?
I finished and I thought to myself, I want to do this again.
Right, I am going to be horrible to the listeners here, and almost as a teaser, because I think we need to talk about this at length. You ran that race again. What happened on one of the first days? Ever so briefly.
Okay, really briefly. I fell, smashed my hand open, split my bag open, split my recovery powder wide open, which is this lovely pink-like substance. Managed to get myself up, dust myself off, continue to run. Your bag then becomes like a furnace because of the heat. You're talking 35 to 40 degrees of heat. The bag that was open, because it had a split in it, all of the substance, all of the recovery powder in it then turns to gloop, which covers everything in that bag, including my back. You don't have a change of clothes, so I was covered in gloop. I managed to finish that day. I went to bed that night, and I woke up the next morning covered in bites.
So, did you quit? Did you finish that race?
I did finish that race.
So, how many people run that race?
There's usually 150, I think. Cap it at 150.
150. How many people finish that race on average?
There's usually 140 maybe.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty. You're not going to go into that unless you stand a fairly good chance.
It fluctuates. I think it might be less than that. I think the cap might be 100. I would say there's a fallout rate of maybe 5 or 6%. Sometimes more. It depends on the year. I mean, I ran it twice, but in the research, when you look online and look at, sometimes there's like loads of did not finish.
Well, I suppose it's the weather is changeable.
Absolutely, yeah.
So 140 people finished. Where did you rank? With your split bag, with your bites, with everything?
I came third.
You came third.
Yep.
As an amateur.
As an amateur, I beat a professional world adventure racer called Pavel Polonsky into third place.
With your bites, with your gashed hand, with your ripped bag.
Yeah.
And that led to another decision, which we're not going to talk about now. Sorry, listener. I'm going to call it quits there. But if people want to find out more about your journey, Mark, how can they do that? I don't actually know the answer. I should.
I don't really know the answer to that. I don't know. Give me a call on the weekend after 7 o'clock at night, but not after 8 because I'll be asleep. I've got baby girl. No, if you're interested or you want to know more, I guess just drop me a line. mark@smallnose.net.
There you go. Or just drop me a line. I'll put you in touch. You can contact me through andrewculture.com. Okay, Mark, this has been absolutely fascinating, and I hope it's been of interest to runners and non-runners alike who are listening. Thank you ever so much for coming along, and this
My
won't be
pleasure.
the last time. We will speak again soon.
Thank you, Andrew.
So I'm going to say goodbye. Do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, goodbye, Andrew.
Well, that's the end of this one. So, what do you think? Do you like it? I hope so. This is the kind of bit that you might be able to tell I just use the same bit every time because, well, it's not so much lazy as efficient, but this is the bit where I say smash the like button or stab at it or actually just stroke it gently. Be nice. Why would you be so aggressive? But please like, please subscribe, and please rank, rate, tell everyone this. These kind of things, I assume they matter. Everyone else says them. But there you go. So endeth this episode of the Andrew Culture podcast. If you want to know more about what I get up to, go have a look at andrewculture.com because I won't bore you with it here. Anyway, until the next time, keep it cool, stand in a dry place, or do what you want. I'm not your boss. Bye.
We don't know for sure. I think weather can be changeable.